Hey guys, it's Kay. I hope you're all doing well. Now in today's video, I want to look at one of my favorite operating systems for the Raspberry Pi 4. Now the last time I looked at this operating system was way back 5 months ago. And since then, the developers have kept up their upgrading and tweaking and turning this operating system for the Raspberry Pi 4 into a polished product. So for those of you who don't know, Twister OS is a Raspberry Pi OS based Linux distro for the Raspberry Pi. And the ace up its sleeve is its ability to seamlessly switch between two different desktop environments. One that emulates Windows 10 and the other which appears to look like Mac OS. So Twister OS gives you the best of both worlds. And did I mention Twister OS packs in a whole load of pre-installed applications such as Box86 for running Linux 86 programs on your Raspberry Pi. Plus there's various integrated development environments, retro gaming emulators and office productivity suites. And that's just scratching the surface. So in this video I'm going to take you through installing the new Twister OS operating system on your Raspberry Pi 4 and going through the new features, tweaks and upgrades. If you're new to the channel and you want to stay up to date with the latest tech tutorials, reviews and unboxings, I do everything including Fire Stick, Raspberry Pi and Android TV tips and tricks, so subscribe and hit the notification button. Now as soon as you boot up into Twister OS, you're going to get the following welcome message, giving you the chance to set up some features. If you click on next, you get the chance to set up your Wi-Fi, password, language and country, along with some other features. But I'm just going to click on next and you'll be given the chance to update. I'm going to skip this. Now on the next screen you're going to get the interesting bit where it tells you about all the themes which I was talking about earlier. And the cool thing here is it gives you a little preview of each of the themes. So you've got your Twister OS which we're in now, you've got the Raspbian OS, you've got the Raspbian XP, Nighthawk, Raspbian X, you've got iRaspbian, iRaspbian Dark and Raspbian 7. And these are mainly focused on Mac OS and Windows systems. Okay, so if you haven't seen Twister OS before, I'll do a quick refresh. But in my previous video I've covered it more thoroughly and I'll link that in the description below. So you've got your menu system at the top here with all your subcategories here, and at the bottom here you've got your quick access like Apple icons here, and then you've got access to your apps here just like Launchpad on Mac OS, and this is a more visual way of looking at the apps with the icons. So Twister OS comes pre-installed with a ton load of apps and you can see there's 4 tabs here, and along the top we've got our shutdown options, hibernate, sleep. Clicking on the icon brings up a new window and you can choose your option there. And it's just like a regular operating system. You've got your calendar, volume, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, with an extra tab for system information like CPU, frequency. Now the first thing I like to do when I go into a new operating system on the Raspberry Pi is overclock the system. Now it's not essential, but I find it makes the experience a whole lot smoother. So of course this can all be done by Commander Pi, which is on the desktop in Twister OS. And clicking on CPU details will give you the current speed of the CPU and GPU. And currently we're on 1500 MHz and 600 MHz. To overclock, I'm just going to click on the overclock button and it gives you an overclock warning. Just click OK. So for my CPU overclock frequency, I'm putting in 2000 MHz, and for GPU frequency, I'm putting in 700 MHz. And for the voltage adjustment, I'm putting in 6 as per the recommendation below. And then click set on each value to confirm your settings. And then finally click apply and reboot, and the system will reboot and you'll log into a new overclock system. And now if we go back into Commander Pi and check the CPU details, you'll see that our CPU max is 2000 MHz as per our overclock. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, there's a couple of things I want to look at. So the first of these is bookshelf. So if you go to menu, accessories and then click on bookshelf, you're going to get a whole load of magazines and books which are downloadable for free. So if you're a tinkerer, programmer, modder, you're going to definitely have something here that's going to interest you. So as you can see, we've got the Magpie magazine, we've got books, we've got Hackspace, we've got Wireframe, tons of content all for free. And all it's going to cost you is a bit of bandwidth to download and a bit of your time to read it. Now if I click on the magazine I'm interested in, it'll start downloading immediately. And the great thing is it'll automatically open up in a PDF reader. And if I just maximize that, you can see we've got full access to the full magazine. Read at your leisure. And I think this is actually a 100-page magazine. Now in my previous video I did mention the PIKISS application, which is under accessories, and you'll find it halfway down the menu. Now of course this allows you to install all manner of applications including games, emulators, tweaks, multimedia and development apps. But like I say, I've covered that extensively in my previous video. Now the other thing I want to talk about that's new in Twister OS is the access to WebApps. You'll find it under Internet and then Twister OS WebApps. Now the cool thing about this is that you're going to get quite a few games that are played in the web browser, which is connected to an external server online. Which means the Raspberry Pi processor doesn't have to do as much work and you're arguably going to get a better experience. And there looks to be quite a few games to choose from. It looks like there's Diablo, Lara Croft, Cut the Rope, Mini Royal, Quake 3 and Swoop, to name a few. And there's also a second listing of games with something that looks like an Age of Empires game and Minecraft. Now I will try some of these games out later on in the video, but I just want to show you that there's also a multimedia tab, and in here we've got something that looks like a movies app, and we've got YouTube, and we've got Pluto TV, Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, and something that looks like an animation app. And under social media we've got all the usual suspects, including Discord, Messenger, Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, Skype, TikTok, WhatsApp and Zoom. And under utilities, the shortwave radio stands out to me. We've also got Google Mail, Outlook, Google Earth, to name but a few. Now the first game I'm going to try is Cut the Rope, and this will be familiar to most of you as it's available on the Google Play Store and Apple Play Store. Okay, so now it's initialized, I'm going to click on the play button and let it load up. Now you can, if you want, maximize the screen, but I'm going to leave it like this. Well, if anything, the sound is great. I have to admit I'm not very good at these games. I kind of just muddle along. But I have to say the graphics and sound are flawless, no stuttering, pretty smooth play. Yeah, overall great gameplay on the Raspberry Pi 4. Now the next game I'm going to try is Lara Croft, and I suppose it's called Tomb Raider. Now again, this is one of those games I used to play back in the day, and even though there's been more recent versions, I haven't really gone back to it. Now again, I do like these sound effects. So it's saying press H, so if I press H I should see all the keys, yeah. I must say it's pretty realistic and amazing it's running on the Pi 4. Whoa, a bit of an Indiana Jones moment here. I think I missed all the arrows. Now looking around you can see the game's playing smoothly in this 3D environment. Another win in my books. Okay, so this next game is called Mini Royale, and I suppose it's a play on the Battle Royale game. So of course it's an online shoot 'em up. And you've guessed it, I'm not very good at these games, but that's not going to stop me trying. Okay, maybe it will. And like before, pretty good gameplay. Okay, so most of you of a certain age will know this one, Quake 3. And I have to say the first impressions are pretty good. The sound, the movement, we're even getting that little jump as we walk along. Now of course this is an online game, so I need to get into a game with some players on it. But just walking around here gives you an idea of what it's going to be like. It's pretty cool by the looks of it. All the details from the original game, they're all here. Now this next game is called Swoop, and it turned out to be one of my favourites. So you basically have to collect the stars and gems and avoid the clouds. And of course if you get the right amount of gems and stars you get refueled. And of course if you don't, you're going to crash and die. Again, it's impressive gameplay and sound for the Raspberry Pi. I found this game quite addictive, if not just for the music. Now this next one's called Load Runner, and again it reminds me of the old retro gaming. And what it lacks in graphics, it more than makes up for in addictiveness. And of course there's minimal sound for that retro look. You basically have to climb the ladders, collect all the cherries while avoiding the enemy. And to help you, you've got a shovel which you can dig holes and make traps for the enemy. You've definitely got to think on your feet. And out of all the games, I've probably spent the most time on this one. Now the next game is on the next page of the Games tab, so click on 2, and it's called Good Game Empire, and it's your typical Age of Empires clone. And yeah, it works well on the Raspberry Pi 4 for a strategy game. Okay, so one of the last tabs I want to look at is Multimedia, and one of the key players here is Pluto TV. Now I have done a video purely on Pluto TV on Android TV, and I'll link that in the description below. It's basically a live TV streaming service, with most of the channels based from the US, with a sprinkling of some UK channels as well. Now this works very well on the Raspberry Pi 4. The electronic program guide, i.e. the EPG, works well, and this web version is exactly the same as the app. You get all the same categories and features. So picture-in-picture, reminders, it's a win-win situation, especially on the Raspberry Pi 4. Anyway guys, if you haven't already tried TwitchOS, now's the time to try it, because they've made some great upgrades to it and added some cool features like this WebApps. Anyway guys, if you found this video helpful, give us a like and maybe even a subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.